All right, what's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button if you enjoy the content, and also share the video if you could. I appreciate the support. So this past weekend, I did live commentary on the Keith Thurman Mario Barrios fight. It was a pretty good weekend of boxing. We had 3 cards in total. Saturday, I covered 2 of them. I covered the Eubank Jr. card, and I also covered the Keith Thurman pay-per-view card, which a lot of people did not support. A lot of people didn't see the fight because they didn't want to support the pay-per-view, which I understand. I thought the price of the pay-per-view was ridiculous. I think the fact that it was a pay-per-view altogether was ridiculous, but I covered it. I did live commentary on it, and a lot of you were here not watching the fight, but just listening to the commentary. But it was a pretty good show overall, and a pretty good undercard as well for the most part. You had Abel Ramos losing to Lucas Santa Maria on a unanimous decision with a huge upset. You know, Ramos was supposed to fight Josecito Lopez. All right, but Lopez backed out of the fight and ended up fighting Santa Maria, who was a replacement at the time. I'm thinking that he's just a regular journeyman. Didn't really look into him, and he ended up being a very, very good boxer. Somebody that I'm expecting to like keep an eye out for in the future. A guy was switching from orthodox to southpaw all night long. Gave Ramos a lot of trouble. You know, Ramos had the power and was definitely able to hurt Lucas at some points of the fight. But overall, he got outboxed. He got outpointed. I think the only issue I had was one of the scorecards was a little too wide. But overall, it was a good fight. And you had the Luis Neri fight, which against Carlos Castro which was a really good fight. I thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive, but to me, Luis Neri dominated him. But I feel like most of us feel like they tried to rob Luis Neri, making it a split decision win for him. One of the judges had it up for Carlos Castro. I don't know how, because I think it was pretty clear that Neri was outboxing him, was out hitting him with the cleaner shots, the harder shots. He was able to hurt Carlos Castro a few times in the fight. I don't know how any judge would have had it for Castro, because I thought it was a lopsided performance, a lopsided win for Luis Neri. And then you had also Jesus Ramos, who fought Vladimir Hernandez, the guy that upsetted Julian J. Rock Williams on his comeback fight from his last loss to his previous loss to Jason Rosario. And Ramos looked great. I think the first few rounds, it was very competitive. Hernandez was doing his thing, staying busy, putting the pressure on Ramos. Tough fight, a lot of back and forth. The rounds was a lot of back and forth with every round. But Ramos was the bigger guy. He connected with the cleaner shots, the heavier shots. And he was just more accurate, you know. Better timing. He was just a better boxer. He was all around better than Hernandez. Even though Hernandez was throwing more punches, Ramos was way more effective. Very good fight. Good kid to look out for at 154. Undefeated prospect. Definitely gonna have my eye on him from here on. And outside of that, we had Leo Santa Cruz in his first fight back since getting knocked out by Tank, where he pretty much, you know, he won the fight clearly. It was kind of competitive, but it was kind of boring because it was much of the same with every round. A lot of punches being thrown, no one really getting hurt. It was just a lot of, you know, Carbajal was pretty decent, but, you know, he was a bigger guy. He definitely connected and definitely bruised up Leo's face a little bit, but for the most part, it was the same pacing throughout the whole fight. And I think that was a point where even when I was doing commentary, I kind of stopped giving commentary because we kept saying the same thing every single round. And we were just talking about other boxing topics during that fight, all right? So let's get on to the Keith Thurman fight, all right? Keith Thurman fought Mario Barrios, and he got the decision win, a clear decision win, unanimous decision. I think Barrios won 2 to 3 rounds, you know. I think I scored it where I think I gave Barrios 3 rounds, all right? And look, Keith Thurman, this is all about Keith Thurman. This fight was all about Keith Thurman. How is he going to look? You know, comparisons to Tank Davis, who just beat Mario Barrios last year, stopped him. Is Keith gonna be able to stop him? If is Keith gonna look good? What's gonna happen if he gets hit to the body? You know, this is Keith on his comeback, 2.5 years off, coming off injuries, mentally went through depression after losing to Manny Pacquiao. It was all really about that. And to be honest, Keith looked like he was able, he had the ability to throw the punches that I remembered the way that I remember him fighting, using the lateral movement, you know, mixing up his punches pretty well. The timing seemed to be good. He still seems to be fairly quick, but he hasn't had a knockout, an actual knockout in a long time. It's been a while since he's actually really stopped someone, and we didn't get in this fight too. Now he was able to mess up Barrios' face. Barrios looked like, I said on a commentary, he looked like Avatar. His nose is completely broken, swollen. He suffered a cut too, I believe, above his right eye. So Keith Thurman visually messed up Barrios' face. He made Barrios back up, stumble a few times. He had Barrios hurt a few times, but wasn't able to put him down. All right, but he busted him up pretty good. It was a good performance, but the problem with fights like this, when you fight someone that is not a welterweight, he's never proven anything at welterweight, and he's barely proven anything at junior welterweight. He didn't fight any of the elite fighters at junior welterweight. All right, coming off of a knockout loss against a lightweight, and then the other top fighter that he fought, Akhmadov, was a very debatable fight. Regardless of what the judges said, a lot of people felt that that was a fight that Barrios won on a gift win. Okay, so all of this coming into the fight, did Keith look good? Yes. Do I think that Keith can still compete against the elite in the division? Yes. Compete? Yes. Win? Not so sure. When it comes to Spence or Bud, do I think he can beat those guys? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Is he capable of competing with them? Absolutely. If Spence beats Ugas and Spence says, I'm going to fight Keith Thurman next, will I be disappointed? Yeah, because I want the Bud Crawford fight more than anything, and I think it's been dragged long enough. But if Spence says, I'm fighting Keith Thurman, that is still a very good name to have on your resume. Same with Bud Crawford. That is still a good name to have on your resume. Do I think Keith wins? No. No. All right. Same with Ugas. Same with, you know, people bringing Boots up and Ortiz. Do I think Keith will win most of these fights? No. You know, I think he would have a good shot against Ugas. Because I do think Ugas is definitely proven him to be an elite fighter at this stage, but he's beatable. You know, I think pretty much they're all beatable. You know, Ortiz and Boots are young, they're hungry, they're fresh, they're healthy, and I think they would give Keith all types of problems. All right, but as far as what they have on their resumes, their respective resumes, even Keith today is still way better than anybody that the both of them have been in the ring with. Neither one of them has been in the ring with anyone like Keith Thurman, you know. But I do think that right now I would probably lean towards those guys on beating them, you know, especially Boots. Like, I think Boots is way, you know, I think Boots can do much more than what Keith can do right now. But again, all of these fights are not bad fights. Keith, I wouldn't see him fighting any of those type of guys. I see Spence is possible. I think Spence and Bud is possible. You know, Ugas would definitely be possible if Ugas were to win that fight against Spence. But listen, Keith's name is still there. You know, he's going to want a big fight. He's going to want a pay-per-view. You know, he's been in there with Danny. I mentioned the other day when I did the live commentary is, don't be surprised if a Danny Garcia and a Keith Thurman rematch happens. Don't be surprised. I know Danny wants to move to 154, but if there's an opportunity to get a good pay-per-view bag fighting Keith Thurman, because it would be a pay-per-view, whether you like it or not, they're going to make that a pay-per-view. Don't be surprised if Danny did it. You know, don't even be surprised if Sean Porter came out of retirement to fight Keith Thurman for a second time. You know, I mean, you know, Sean is doing his podcast. You know, he retired. He lost to Bud. He lost to Spence. And I get it. He's not that hungry no more. But if there's an opportunity to fight Keith Thurman in a rematch in a fight that he felt like he got the first fight, he might end up coming back to fight Keith Thurman. You just never know. You know, so I'm just trying to weigh out all options here. And I think there's a lot of options there for Keith Thurman. I don't think Ortiz is realistic. I don't think Boots, definitely not realistic. But you never know. You know, I mean, Conor Ben, maybe that's a bit realistic. That'll be a good fight. And that's a fight that I'm not sure who will win that fight. You know, I think Ugas is a little 50-50 with me. I think Conor Ben is 50-50 with me. You know, Ben he has the youth. He's hungry. He has the power. He looks good. He's sharp. He's healthy. So that's 50-50, you know. But, you know, guys like Boots and Ortiz, I felt like that's proven to, you know, they're like right there. They're so close to getting a title shot. I think that it would probably be a little too risky for a guy like Keith. You know, Keith said in the interview not too long ago that he didn't even know who Boots was, which is bullshit. But Keith says funny stuff in certain interviews. All right. So with all that being said, I am impressed with what Keith can do. He's definitely past his prime. All right. As far as the energy itself, he's fighting like an older version of himself, but he can still do mostly what he was always able to do. All right. It's just that there's no way to really rate him because we're basing that on a Mario Barrios fight, who I believe that all of those fighters that I just named would beat. And most of them would stop Barrios without too much of an issue. You know, I would expect Ugas to stop Barrios. I would expect Spence and Bud, obviously, to stop Barrios. I would even expect a Boots or Ortiz to stop him as well. You know, so Keith boxed well. Okay, he definitely did. He was definitely able to hurt Barrios, but not putting him away. Now, Tank, this whole Tank thing, spoke on it briefly the other day when I was doing the commentary. I don't like all this talk about Tank Davis beating Keith Thurman. All right, because at the end of the day, the same people that are saying that are going to get pissed off if their fight is made. If Tank is going to go up to 147 to fight Keith Thurman, don't have a problem with the fight if it actually happens. That's my message for the people that are saying Keith will lose to Tank based off their performances against Mario Barrios. All right. I thought Keith did well between every round, better against Barrios round by round than Tank. But Tank was able to stop Barrios, hurt him, drop him a few times, and stop him. Okay, he was able to do that. So, yes, based on the stoppage, I give Tank the nod as far as performing better against Barrios. But as far as boxing and what we got round by round, I gave Thurman the edge. Thurman looked better to me winning the rounds against Tank. He was able to do more every single round and land more every single round than Tank did. All right. Tank did better at landing the bigger shots. You know, didn't throw many punches, but timing the right shots to drop Barrios. So I agree. That's what he did better. But do I want to see Tank and Thurman fight? No. Do I expect it to happen? You never know. You just never know these days. I don't expect it to happen. I know it's automatically a lose-lose for Keith Thurman because Keith is the former unified champion at 147. Having a lightweight come up to fight him, and whether he wins, he wins. He's not going to get credit for beating a lightweight. If he loses, he's not going to get credit because he lost the fight. You know, so That's just my opinion. What do I want from Keith? I mean, what do I want? Let me tell you what I want from the welterweight division. What I want is for the two top guys at welterweight to fight each other. That's Bud and Spence. That's what I want. Keith, there's other fights that can be made. You can make those other fights. You know, if you don't, a lot of people feel that he needs another tune-up before a Spence or a Bud. Tune-up, 2 tune-ups, 3 tune-ups. I don't think Keith beat either one of them. I think Spence has always been a stylistic nightmare for Keith Thurman. All right. And I think Bud is just overall a better fighter than Keith Thurman. Period. You know, in my opinion. All right. I wouldn't even be surprised. And this is another, because I'm throwing every option out there. I wouldn't even be surprised if Keith Thurman fought the winner of Kell Brook and Amir Khan. I just wouldn't be surprised at this point. All right. Josh Taylor too, if he's looking for a dance partner, you never know. That's another option that is possible. And that's another fight that I'm not too sure who will win that. You know, Josh Taylor, very accomplished as a junior welterweight, tall, can do a lot. We know what he's capable of doing. But on Keith's best day, I think I would have probably picked Keith without too much thought. Now, not really sure, because I don't know what Keith can really give us. All right. Wouldn't even be surprised if we got some sort of Adrian Broner pay-per-view. I'm going to throw every option out there just because these options are not completely unrealistic to me. You know, if Keith Thurman and Broner, if they could set that up for a pay-per-view, they'll do it. Just don't be surprised if it happens, whether it's Broner, whether it's a Danny Garcia rematch, a Sean Porter rematch. Don't be surprised, because money talks, you know. And don't think, I'm just not seeing Boots or Ortiz get in there, you know, not even the counter bent. I just don't see it happening, you know. Anyway, you know, and then saying that, I'm gonna end it with this. Keith Thurman, and what's going on with the welterweight division is this transition going on now. You know, just like you got Bam Rodriguez and Martinez at 115. You know, a lot of these guys at 115, like Quadras and Chocolatito and Estrada and Ioka, some of them fought, some of them haven't fought. But the longer they take, you're giving more time for these guys that's on the come up to inch closer to a title shot. And then now, at some point, while you're older, you're going to be forced to having to fight them to defend your titles. You know, and I think that's the one thing I worry about the welterweight division. I would love to see Ortiz get a crack at one of these guys at some point. I would love to see Boots get his shot. And I'm down for it. If they make it, I'm down for it. But I want the question to be answered as who is the true best welterweight in the division. Is it Spence or Bud? You know, because these guys been there. They've done everything they wanted. They're much more accomplished. All right. I don't want to see to a point where we missed that fight and now we're seeing one of these young guns go in there and get a win over the guys that's been there. You know, I'm not opposed to it completely, because if Spence and Bud just don't fight each other, I would love to see Ortiz or Boots get their shot. You know, I'm down with. I'm not about protecting anyone. It's not about protection with me. All right. It's about just getting work done while you're on top for the new hungry up and coming guys come over and take over. All right. So that's my views on that. Anyway, I'm out. Make sure you subscribe again and smash that like button. Peace.